And we're back with more blood and gore, just like a Vengeful Psycho Killer sequel. Trust me, I've got him right where I want him as he confesses his true crime past on how his reputation became a victim of unscrupulous acts despite his efforts. In part 2 of Going Places Unknown with Shawn Shreve. Get ready to level up your powder coater game.
So
yeah, and I think that in describing the internet culture today, you've got two kinds of influencers. The kind that just have that reach or followership, or
I think what you have is naturally likable people.
Organic reach, or it's not organic reach, but like that organicness that they don't care how many followers they have versus, and because they're being authentic, they're just being themselves on whatever platform they're on, and versus the fiery, or the fiery followership, really fast, hard and fast, but have nothing behind it. You know what I mean? There's just nothing behind it. And there's lots of celebrities out there that we could compare to, but me personally, I'm all about organic reach versus paid or any other kind of a viral type stuff, because you're not really going to get the followership. And I kind of want to go back to this point that was made a little while ago, actually, about, growing your YouTube channel. And, at some point it's going to have so much reach, just so much that you can, and that's okay. Because the guy with you notice that there's the other kind of viral or highly clicked on powder coating is videos out there are the guy that has the automotive channel that does all kinds of things automotive. Of course, it's a much broader audience,
right?
And it's got one video that's
poorly powder coats.
Yeah, like truck. Here's my powder coated truck or my whatever, and it goes crazy and stuff. But there isn't a lot of what you're doing out there, where the how-to videos, even this podcast. We reached a couple milestones with just getting into the top 200 of how-to podcasts. That's for a niche market. That's, and that's what I'm getting at, is that powder coating is niche, and you shouldn't expect 1 million followers out of it, because even if you could get 1 million followers out of it, how many of those are actually going to continue to come back and engage in your lives or engage with comments, likes, and shares? How many are those? And I'd rather have those people every day coming to my blog or to my podcast or whatever, my YouTube channel, because I know they're going to come back every week. And that's, to me, more important than how many followers do not engage, that are not engaging.
Yeah. And that's my biggest thing is I'm not ever pretending that I'm going to hit 1 million followers. I'm not even going to pretend I'm going to hit. I'm at 25 something now, 2,500 something now, which to me is ridiculous. I didn't think I would get anywhere near that. So the idea of 10,000, I guess now is a little more reasonable. But even then, I don't care if I even get to 10,000 followers. It's, having the goal of having followers is like having the goal of having a bunch of fake friends around you. I'd rather have 2 cool friends that I know are honest with me, for better or worse, every time, than have a bunch of fake people who just want to big me up and like on my videos or leave fake positive comments and things like that. And it's the big thing with me is I don't need 1 million followers. If I can teach 100 people some dumb trick on powder coating, I'm way happier doing that. Way happier doing that. And it's, there's all these people are like, I'll give these, I guess, I don't see them as like secret tips and tricks, but I guess either I came up with them or I got them from somebody who never showed them to other people or whatever. But I'll show people how to like mask a valve cover. Like, I don't know if you've seen my video about masking the backside of a valve cover for powder. I use tin foil. I don't tape the whole back thing.
Ross has done that a few times. Yeah.
I use tin foil and binder clips on the backside.
Well, it's cheap too.
It's cheap, fast. It's incredibly fast. Like that's the biggest thing. Tape sucks. Tape's expensive. It sucks to deal with most of the time, especially on multi-coat stuff. The foil thing is quick and easy. You can do it in, it works every time. It's not like it doesn't work on certain types of valve covers. It works every time. And when I started posting that, I started seeing all these, pictures of people's work done and hanging, and all of a sudden now everybody's using binder clips and foil on the back. And I'm just like, that's awesome. And people are like, oh, how come you don't give unknown coatings credit for that? Like, they're not going to give me credit for that. I don't care. It's not like I invented some crazy new way of doing something. It's just like, I'm glad that now somebody else has found an easier way of doing something. Cool. Yeah. Good enough for me, or putting clay, when I sandblast valve covers, if you have a customer who doesn't want you to remove the baffles, which I don't know why anybody would ever want that, but it happens. Yeah. I came up with the idea of using modeling clay to plug all of the openings in the baffles because it's sticky, right? So it'll stick to everything during the blasting process. And I've tested it 4 or 5 times to make sure that the only way that you can even get media into it is if you tried to blast media into it. Even then, it doesn't really work. Before I ever told anybody else about it, but I've been using that way of doing it for 6 years now, 7 years now. And now I see people, like, hey, where can I get modeling clay from? You guys use modeling clay? And I'm just like, hey, you just go to Walmart. It's nothing too crazy. And that to me is way more, that I'm way more proud of being able to help 10 people than I would ever be of having 10,000 followers. And
because that's what it's about.
Yeah, and having the channel grow as well as it has been awesome. I mean, the opportunities now. I mean, I'm getting contacted by powder coating companies, that sell powder, like big name companies, offering me, real sponsorships, not, hey, can you mention our name once in a while? These are, we'll pay you to put our logo in every video, use our product for everything. And,
because they need help.
Yeah. Yeah. And
they've been in the industrial world for so long. They don't even know how to handle, how to handle us custom coders. Yeah. And I've been preaching that since way before, I'm not going to name names, but like, I can't believe they've ignored this for so long, And you see them trying to jump into it now, but you can tell they're really far behind. Like Prismatic's the only one that ever catered. I mean, well, but they cater to just us, Well, that's what I'm saying. So Prismatic has done that. I mean, Columbia and like Powder by the Pound, some of those guys who I think initially were taking big box powder, repackaging it and selling it off. Right. We understand that now. Yeah. Right. But it's, Prismatic's always been there. And then all these other companies are now playing catch up, like in a big way. I mean, we're still in some negotiations with 2 companies, so I don't want to say anything name wise, but I've been contacted now by 3 big box powder companies to try to sponsor the channel. And I'm just like, I gotta be honest with you guys, I've never even used your powder before. It's like, I'm telling you, this is the beauty of what you and this podcast is doing, is it's disrupting the market. Yeah. And I was talking to Ross about this yesterday, or I think this morning, I don't know, I'm 50. I forget when I talked to my husband now. But, we're now, we're making some noise. Yeah. And they're starting to kind of turn their head a little bit and realize, there's an army of us. Literally, I mean, I know that's what you call the Facebook group and stuff. Right. I've been preaching that to them for years, even before, to anybody that would hear me. And, ironically, the interesting thing about Prismatic is their problem is the opposite. They want to get more industrial customers.
That was always my problem. That was my problem with Prismatic forever. It's like, well, why don't you guys, if I want to buy a 55-pound box of your clear, why am I still paying almost full price that you would be charging me per pound?
Yeah.
But the more that I stepped back and looked at it, I was like, it makes sense though. Like, this is actually your market. Like, you know, if you mention powder, like, hey, where's the best place to get powder? It's Prismatic every time on any hobby form. Form. And
they own the market. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing that, you know, that's what I always go back to, is that brand recognition. You know, like, it doesn't, you can say all you want about the fact that they don't do big box pricing, but I guarantee you they're doing more business than anybody else. I mean, I've seen their trucks. I've been to the Prismatic. You know, I actually used to live in Oregon, where Prismatic is, like the same city that it's in. Mm-hmm. And when I went back there to visit some friends, I actually stopped by Prismatic, or, you know, NIC Industries technically. And, you know, I've seen the 3 UPS trucks there that they're loading up every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know how much business they're doing. Like, it's not, I'm sure that big box companies are doing just fine as well. Like, it's not like, you know, Prismatic is taking a big bite of what they want. But now it's the big box companies that are coming back after Prismatic's customers, saying like, hey, why don't you guys try to buy some of our powder? And, you know, the number of companies now that have sent me, I probably have gotten 300 pounds of powder for free from companies that are just trying to get me, hey, like, why don't you come over to us? Why don't you mention us on your, you know, your YouTube channel? And I'm just like, I mean, I could, but if you're, you know, the downside of me is, if I don't like your powder, you're going to know about it on the YouTube channel, you know? And
right.
Like, it's like, is the risk worth it to you? You know, like, is the risk really there? That's one of the big things with, you know, I love IFS's powder. A bunch of the colors that I've gotten from them, I love their super wet black. I love their matte black 2, Silverdillo, one of the best silvers I've ever used. There's a bunch of colors that I absolutely love, but they have atrocious customer service if you're not a company ordering 10 55-pound boxes. And when I say atrocious, I mean, I can't email, call, or text my rep and get a response for weeks, you know? And it's like, or I can just get
I can't say it's ever been that bad for me, but I would like to order their powders more. And I think that that's kind of more or less where I think I want to make this this point, is that I think it's good that we're maybe possibly being influencers or disruptors, or, you know, and finally having a voice either on YouTube or somewhere else where we can actually say, this is kind of lame and you need to make it better. I mean, you know, I remember when the whole tiger thing kind of came on in the groups and stuff, and everybody's like, well, how do I get an account, or how do I order and stuff? And I'm thinking, rolling my eyes, you know, like, come on, Tiger, get a automated system there where we could just, we don't have to call.
Tell your web guy to spend 10 minutes of his day to make this possible. You know, like,
no, I think to be honest with you, I think their problem is a little harder to solve than that. But it's important that we do speak out, and that we do say, this could be better, or this is messed up, or whatever. And I think it is going to change. And I, you know, I hope today's people that are listening to this podcast go back and listen to the Thresh 99 podcast, because this is exactly what Russell was talking about. That if we're big enough that if we get together, we can change this industry. And it's not going to come from the industrial coders, people. It's going to come from you and me and everybody listening to this podcast about what it is that we want out of the industry. And I get really, my voice is going up and I'm getting excited and, you know, whatever, but it's so freaking true. And we need to, this is why we want to build the community in a positive way.
Right.
And cheer everybody on, not, you know, block them on Facebook groups or bash them in conversations about posts and stuff. It's right. One of the reasons why I started the podcast is to make a more positive experience for people that are trying to go to these places and get information. And I love your channel because I'm always attracted to powder coaters or industry people that are providing a valuable resource.
Right.
Your channel is a resource. Blast Coating's blog is a resource for when you're down in the dumps and you want to hear, you know, like, I don't know, or you want to get positive about how to manage your business. Jace has got an incredible, you got to go there, guys, to go check it out, because it's just such a great, you get so uplifted when you go there, because you realize you're not the only one with this problem, right, and this guy's trying to help you solve it or get a better grasp of it.
Right.
IFS. I am dying to get IFS on their, why? Because they have a library, people, of videos, how-to videos, yep, from a technical expert. And they've got the same problem I have. Too much content all over the place and not promoting it enough.
Right.
You know, it's good that you're just mainly focusing on the YouTube channel, because when you create as much content as I do, I get boggled down with putting it everywhere, all over the place. And they've literally, I swear, they got the freaking powder coating library of Alexandria on their website, but how can you freaking find it? You know what I mean? I had to actually have them tell me where to go to get all these. And it's the way he talks, and it's like somebody like me who's non-technical and not a powder coater, I could literally get all of those videos that I watched. And I'm like, oh, I have a better understanding of this now. And where is it? It's hidden in somewhere in deep and down in their website somewhere.
Yeah,
but no,
9 pages of links. Yeah. It's pretty rough finding that stuff on there.
Yeah. So it's not just about ordering from IFS. It's also just trying to find, because it just seems like it's a freaking maze on their website that they could just simplify for users so much better and give a better customer experience. But anyways, hopefully they're listening.
I think touching on the one thing where you're saying like you like pages or people or whatever that are willing to help other people, is that I think that when you're authentic, it's really easy to want to help other people, and it's really easy to help other authentic people. You know what I mean? Because you see what they're doing and you're like, oh, I want to help that person. You know, like I want to help them grow. You know, I'll help other people grow at no benefit to me. I mean, I shout people out of my YouTube or Instagram, whatever. I don't care if they ever shout me back out. You know, like that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I'd like to see them grow for whatever the reason might be. You know, and it's there's I was going to say kid. He might even be my age. I actually have no idea how old he is, but he's been doing work with I want to say like a Redline Easy 50 gun, I think, which I have no experience of any kind with. So I know very little about them, but I know that they're not, you know, like they're a hobby level gun. They're not like a, you know, high end gun by any means. And he bought one of my units, and looking at the work that he had been putting out with this Easy 50, like I was floored, like over the top impressed. I think I mentioned him now in like 2 or 3 different YouTube. I think I mentioned him in 2 different YouTube Q&As, and then just a regular video I shouted him out because, like, you know, and I think I'm only shouting out like his Instagram and his Snapchat, if I remember correctly. But it's like the work that he's putting out with this, you know, I don't want to say like low end equipment, but it's in scale low end equipment, was incredible. You know, it's like I'm way more interested in seeing that person grow than trying to push down somebody who's doing good work. You know, it's like I want more people to see that you don't have to buy $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $8,000 gun to put out good work. You just have to be dedicated and committed to what you want to put out. You know, and it's
and watch out for his competition, because when he does go and buy that $5,000 Gema or Wagner or Nordson or whatever, look out. He's going to be amazing. You know, can you get to be that good on a hobby gun? You know, if he ever gets, you know, if that's what he wants. But, you know, it is all about the progressing of the industry, and the industry is people. Yeah, it always has been.
That was one of the reasons I left most of the powder coating groups on Facebook. Just seemed like there was a lot of drama in them that and not even entertaining drama. It was just like grown men arguing about dumb stuff, you know, like basically what it was. And I can get that anywhere on Facebook. I don't need to be in a powder coating group to find that. But there was, you know, I remember seeing
you should try the light workers group.
No, I'm a hard pass.
Oh my God. Some of those groups are just like, it's like the more ascended this subject matter, the lower the vibration can be.
But it was, you know, I left those groups, and I think it's kind of funny to me now. I don't know, you know, I'm sure you've seen enough of my videos that I have a sticker on the side of the gun that I use in all my videos is a Hyper Smooth 02, right? That I purchased in 2008. And I remember seeing a post that was talking crap about the fact that I was using, you know, I'm giving people advice and telling them how to do things, but I'm still using this hobby gun. And I'll be super honest. The only reason I've continued to use that in all my videos is because I know it bothers people, which is the wrong reason to do it. But there's a sticker now on the side of my gun because he's like, oh, how could he be telling anybody how to do anything? He's using a 20-year-old gun. So that's why on the side of my gun now, there's actually a sticker that says 20-year-old gun in quotes, and there's a dash. I
saw that. And I was wondering what that meant because I didn't understand. But yeah.
The best part of that is I later went back and found that guy's business. His business closed down this year. He said due to COVID. You know, it is what it is. I don't know.
Well, so there are some powder coaters out there that, including us, that are struggling, but that's our state.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, like, looking at the quality of work, I would say that a global pandemic was not his problem. Best way to say it. But it was funny because, you know, he's using, I think he was using like a Wagner, you know, he's using like a $4,600 gun, whatever it was. And I'm just like, so wait a minute, you're mad at me for using this gun that I think when I bought my gun, it was $700 and it came with like a whole kit of startup stuff. It was on sale. I remember it being on sale. It's why I ordered it the day I did. And I was like, so you're mad at me for using this gun and being able to put out, you know, clearly good results. Like anybody who's seen my stuff, like, not bragging, but like you can see that the work is there, like the quality is there. And I was like, so you're mad about that, but you're using this gun that costs, you know, 5, 6, 7 times more than mine. And you can't keep your business going, but I'm doing just fine, you know. And that's not, you know, it's not a shot at anybody, it's not a slap in the face at anybody. It's like your focus is in the wrong place.
But it's an observation. Really yeah. I did have that feeling when I was watching that video last night, going, what brand is that? What brand is he using? Because it was colored like a Wagner, and I'm like, I don't see Wagner on there, and I'm like, yeah, that's.
It is a.
I don't know what it is. It's an industry thing too, don't you think? Like, I think it comes from a top level kind of thing, or where, you know, it's all, you know, there are these industrial coders, man. It's all about who is your guy, you know.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's like you know, Gary Vaynerchuk always talks about. He's like, I want to build the biggest building in town. And I can do that 2 ways. I can either build the biggest building or I can tear down everybody around me. And it seems like most of those guys have a way bigger interest in tearing everybody down around them than just like going out and trying to put in the work to like make things happen. And it's like, I don't know how anybody could live in that mindset. Like that's so far removed from how I think about anything. You know, it's not to sit here and say that I don't have negative thoughts about people in the industry necessarily, but you're not going to see me all over the internet blasting them, making fun of the gun that they're using. You know, that's the last thing. If they're putting out work, if it's good work, I don't care if they're using a Harbor Freight gun. You know, if they're throwing glass out of it with a Harbor Freight gun, then cool. You know, like,
right.
You know, I'm not going to bash.
Maybe they're trying to forget how they started themselves or something. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
You know, I do see that sometimes too in the chats and stuff and stuff. It's
even trying to compare. I mean, industrial coders comparing themselves to me is ridiculous. It's like, I know that there are industrial coders who I'm sure put out great work, but we all know that most industrial coding doesn't have to look that great. You know, it's not like it has to be amazing. You're talking matte black on probably 80% of your jobs, or architectural bronze. You know, it's like we're not too worried about it. And most of it's, you know, fencing, railings, all that stuff's going to be installed before the customer even sees it. If the customer has a problem with it, it doesn't even matter. You know, it's like to compare that versus when I have somebody come here and pick up a set of wheels, and they pick up a wheel and they're going like this and flipping it all around. Like, I know for a fact that my quality is probably better than most industrial coders just by default, just because it has to be. I'm not saying they can't put out the work. I'm just saying that they don't have to put out that level of work because they're an industrial coder,
Right.
and so to compare the two is just ridiculous.
It's funny because I ordered this right next to me here. You can't see it on the camera, but I ordered a Proform or something from Home Depot. It's just a slat wall. It's plastic.
Right.
But the hooks that come with it are powder coated.
Yeah.
And I was inspecting the powder coating, and I'm like, who's got this account? Whatever.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
funny
was looking at the coating. I mean, overall, it's a good coating, but you can see debris from the weld, and it's not cleaned up and stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm like, do I want to put this on my wall? But
it's funny,
it's amazing how much they get away with. Those line coders and those industrial coders get away with it. Because for them, it's all about margins, right? It's all about making the most amount of money. And it's a different problem that they're solving versus what we're solving, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I do want to talk about, because on your, getting back to your search results on that first page, you type in unknown coatings.
Right.
And there is, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is I'm on the BBB advisory committee for the state of Hawaii. So I get in. You know where I'm going now.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I guess the point is that, I noticed that you don't necessarily have an accreditation, although it seemed like maybe you should. I'm not sure why the BBB is ranking you. I guess if that's where the complaint came from, there's a complaint in there. I didn't really click into your profile. You don't really have a profile, actually. But
my BBB thing has changed in the last 12 years. It is literally, it goes like A, F, C, A, B, F, constantly. And the only response, I mean, I guess I feel weird telling you this is because now you just said that you're part of a BBB thing, but
I don't work for them. I'm just an advisory board member.
I'll tell you the same thing I tell them. And actually the same, I talked to my parents. I had gotten a negative, whatever it is, a complaint or whatever through the BBB. And I talked to my parents, and they of course thought it was a big deal. My parents are 69 and 71, so old, I guess we'll say. I'm closer than that than I want to be, but
from a different age.
Right. And, to them, the BBB was everything. That was the only thing you could turn to get any information about anybody. Mm-hmm. And, luckily I'm just on the edge of, I had internet when it first came out, kind of a thing. I had AOL when it was on 3 floppy disks kind of at the store, and for me, what I tell the Better Business Bureau is they have no value to not only myself, but to anybody, actually. If you're not old, there's no value in the BBB, in my opinion. Now, the reason I say that is only because of the internet. If people want reviews and they want to know things, the BBB doesn't provide enough information for that to even be a thing that people can look up. They can look up, oh, this person's had X amount of complaints and they resolved X amount of complaints, which is great, I guess. But there's no 25-year-old that's going to look at the BBB. That's not even close to a reality. And that's the same thing I've told them. The first time I ever got a complaint, I remember I hummed and hawed about how I wanted to respond to it. Now, I should preface this by saying that the complaint that happened, I had already taken care of it before the BBB contacted me. Mm-hmm. So, I was already kind of a step ahead of what they were trying to accomplish.
Right.
But when I started looking into the BBB a little bit more, I realized that it's essentially a private company who makes money off people paying for accreditation. It has government ties. I'm not going to say that it's a guy just making a bunch of money off people buying their A+ ratings. But I noticed when I had gotten negative comments on it, a couple months went by and I got a letter and an email from the BBB asking if I would like accreditation, that I could pay $5,000 and I could get the BBB accredited business, and I get a sticker for my door, and I get put on some nonsense website.
I don't think it's 5,000. That's not what I pay, but yeah.
Mine was $5,000.
Wow.
I think I actually posted on Facebook because I was like, so let me get this straight. Me, who I assume only has negative things for the BBB, like nobody contacts them when it's positive, right? Because that's not how that works. I was like, I only have negative things with the BBB, who every time they've messaged me, I've told them that, like, stop sending me these letters. You're wasting your money. I don't care what any of you say. Your opinion is of no value to me or really anybody else. And now you're willing to let me buy an accreditation? I was like, so you're basically just a fraud. Like, you're just, I mean, imagine any sort of thing where I can pay to get a better grade.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's more or less sort of taking an oath, I guess, if you want to call it that, which might even infuriate you more, that, you're going to uphold a certain type of value, to legitimize.
But it's a value created by old people for old people. It's not created for the generation that I live in.
Listen, this is why they've asked me to be on the BBB advisory committee for the state, because they are having identity crisis and finding and sort of trying to find their relevancy in this new world. The people that are running the BBB, Tyler is the president of the BBB for the Western, we're called the Northwest Pacific region. And I'm not sure if Utah is included in the Northwest Pacific. I think but it's like California, Hawaii, Seattle, Washington and Oregon. I think Idaho, maybe Nevada as well. But yeah, I mean, this is the reason why they have advisory committee members that are business owners that are on this, so that they can get this feedback from us on, obviously now it's all about COVID when we meet, but I think that the thing is that in terms of Google search results, okay, let's just talk about Google for a second and going back to that is, if I saw anything in today's search results for your company, the one that was most relevant to me or most disruptive or negative was actually the BBB one, because the other ones you could just read through and realize that was a silly situation, or it got resolved, or it was something else, or this guy had a penchant for you or whatever, to nail you, whatever. But the BBB one is important because it's even though the BBB is sort of struggling with its own identity crisis and stuff, like we said, it's still a trustworthy site. Regardless of the 25-year-old going there or not, which I agree with you 100%. He's not going there. He's going to go to Facebook or Yelp first before they go anywhere.
Exactly.
In terms of having a profile or a backlink to the BBB is actually, so if you're, I know you have a website and it looks like you're in the middle of building it out and stuff like that.
For too long, yeah.
Well, let's just talk websites for a minute, because that's the thing, if you want to stay, if the website was now your mission, right? You've got your YouTube channel going, or you're okay on Instagram and your gram game is good. If you were to focus then in on your website, then having a solid backlink to the BBB actually helps your website. And that's all I want to say. There are other relative websites and getting a legitimate backlink to build your reputation, to build your Google algorithm, research results and stuff like that. And that was, to me, the only thing that I saw in terms of what I know about website building and blogging and social media and marketing and stuff like that, was, to me, that the BBB thing was actually more negative than any of the other forum stuff.
Shenanigans.
Yeah.
I guess my whole issue, I guess, with the BBB has always been, pretty straightforward. It's the market that they are talking to, right? It is like a grand spectrum of things. Not, I understand there are some positives that you could get in having a positive, having the BBB think positive things about you, no matter what that might be. I think I just looked it up online. It just says I have no rating, whatever that might mean.
No accreditation.
Right. But looking at it, it says I've only been in business for 9 years. It says that I'm a detailer in a city that I haven't lived in almost 10. So it's like that information, I didn't put any of that information there. They put it all there, and it's apparently all wrong. And what I told my parents, I actually remembered while you were talking, the thing that I had told my parents was the BBB is important to people who would look up the BBB's phone number in a phone book. And that's how I saw it. It's like the people who still wait for that phone book to come and will flip through it and find that number, that's the people who care about the BBB. And they're not my market. They're never going to even be close to my market. Now, to be fair, I did just have yesterday a guy that told me he was 98 years old to drop something off here. But typically speaking, that is not my market.
Yeah, it's hard to say, really, especially for businesses like ours, where can the BBB help us, or any large site like that? To me, and one of the reasons why I want to get somebody, maybe you can pull some strings for me over at Prismatic, I've been begging for a few days now, is to get them on the podcast, because their website is an authoritative site where we can post our content, get valuable, very, very valuable. If I could show you my results on the value I get out of that website by posting every possible job I can that uses the prismatic powders. I don't see why if they knew what I know, I mean, I'm not saying Prismatic. I'm pretty sure Prismatic knows but if every powder coater knew what I know about Prismatic's platform, you would be posting there every freaking day, getting a review and stuff. You could get, in just this last year that I have posted on it and our work, and and started looking at all of that value I'm getting out of that site, it's unbelievable. And I still think Prismatic is underutilizing the site, the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is hilarious, because I mean, you type in powder coat anything and Prismatic comes up for me. They're the first 3 results, pretty much. They have their paid ad, and they have link straight to their site, and then they'll have some other link that follows that. And it's Prismatic does a ton that I'm sure they know what they're doing. I'm sure that they understand the analytic side of it and how it helps other people. But because their focus has always been on the hobby coder, I think that, I don't know if they went out of their way to try to help hobby coders in that regard, but they did kind of by default, just in the presence that they created. And I mean, you look at, and there's no other site that even comes close to that. I mean, powder coat wise, I mean, there's nobody.
Right. Yeah.
You can look at, Powder by the Pound and Columbia and all those. And you can post pictures of your stuff on some of those. And I've never had a single person say, "Oh, I saw your stuff on such and such website," but they've seen it on Prismatics. It's like, I mean,
We've had calls where they found us on Prismatic and then called us. And I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah,
exactly. But exactly. And I want to, let's talk about this search results again, but in a different way. And that is, coming up, counting how much, I guess the average business, and I don't know what the stat is exactly, but I did some kind of research on search results. Okay. When you're typing in, and I hope every powder coder listening in will do this, especially if you have a website. But even if you didn't, because I did row too on this search. So what you do is you put in quotation marks and then you type in your business name. Right. So for you, I put in quotation mark, unknown coatings, quotation marks, and then hit the search button, because that's how you get the most valid. Because when you just type in unknown coatings, obviously they could talk about it. The results could be either coatings or unknown or a combination of all kinds of things, right?
Yep.
So unknown coatings got 83,600 results in the search. That's awesome. That is amazing.
It's
the
YouTube,
funny part about that is it to YouTube?
It's there to all over it. That was, going back to the analytics side, like my understanding of how Google Analytics worked, I got pretty early on, kind of unintentionally.
Right.
I had actually listened to a lecture that led me to a book that led me to another book about just the analytics of Google and this was, 2012. It was a while ago.
Early. Yeah.
And so, like I said before, that's the reason that you'll never catch me mentioning another powder coater's name, especially in my area. It's more when I say I don't mention other powder coaters' names, I mean in the area. Mm-hmm. And it's my understanding of it that has allowed that growth. Because ultimately, if you come, if you're in Utah and you type powder coater or Utah powder coating or anything like that, mine's the first result every time. And mine's the first result. Mine's actually the first 3 results or 2 results, I think. And then if you keep going, there's a negative one about me, of course. But right. I'm in there with, I'm a one-man show. My girlfriend does a lot of sandblasting and other stuff around the shop and is amazing at that. But I'm a one-man show and I'm being mentioned with shops that have 13, 20 employees, 35 employees.
Yeah.
And it's realistically, we shouldn't even be being compared,
Right.
Or
no, because I what's the one near you? I thought I'd written it down.
Is it Armor or there's one that's right by me called Powder Keg is
no, not Powder. I did look at Powder Keg. What's the Blast? No.
Oh wait, you're thinking of the one that I can never remember the name of.
Yeah, they have an ATV on there. It looked like they do it a lot.
Wait, is it Powder Extreme Coatings?
Not Powder Extreme, but I did look at them.
I always want to call them bullseye coatings, but that's not who you're talking about.
No, but it's that. Yeah, what is? Yeah, whatever. Okay.
I'm gonna look.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna look too because here's the thing. I guess I want to put in perspective about search results versus a business search result, right? So. Obviously, when you type in just unknown coatings and hit search results, you're getting about 15 million hits. But it could be anything from a cream that you put on your body to, powder coating, okay? Yeah, the real deal. So you have to use the quotation marks. And so, for instance, I typed in Black Label coatings. And not Black Label powder because I wanted to exclude that. So I put in Black Label, and they got about 4,320 results, which is good for a business. But then he has a lot of followers on Instagram and stuff, so that plays a part in the algorithm. I typed in Jace Kaiser blasting and coatings, only 733 results.
Yeah.
And, for a business, that's actually really good for a business though. Because and it just goes to show you how important social media is, or being on a platform like YouTube is, or doing anything and doing more of it is important.
The powder coater that you're talking about near me is not Armor Coatings, right?
No, it's not. It was, and I think the reason why that one, let me just type in unknown coatings.
What's funny is I used to be able to find the people that I'm talking about, and now they're not coming up at all. So, is it Bullseye powder?
Yes, Bullseye.
Bullseye powder. It's something like that.
Yeah, I think it is Bullseye or something. Yes, it is. Stuff. It is that. And it's funny because when I saw that Bullseye, I think
it's full blown powder coating.
Full blown, that's it.
That's the one. I never remember it. I never remember that name. It's full blown coating. Right.
Yeah. They didn't really have, I think they had 1,400, I'd have to look to see what it was, but it wasn't that big for a business, or even maybe it was more than that. It was more like 7,000 or 8,000. That was pretty good. It looked like they were pretty well established, and that they had they were more than just a single sole proprietorship, that they were a full on business.
No, yeah, one of my buddies actually worked there. Yeah.
It seemed like it was they did industrial lines. Yeah. Okay. Roro, no website, which I called him out on, and he was like, nope, I don't want a website. Too much work. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, to be fair, I haven't had a website until the last probably 7 months. I didn't have one for the last 7 years. So I had one for the first probably 5.
But so neither does Roro, and he's got 13,000 in the search results. That's pretty good. But then he's on it every day. So how many of us are that good,
Right.
And I mean, his Facebook's pretty big too. And I think he's on a couple of videos on YouTube and the podcasts and stuff. But Maui Powderworks, 19,800. But we have a really good blog that gets a lot of consumers hitting it and stuff. Unknown Coatings, 83,600. That's pretty good, Shawn.
Brand recognition. That was
it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, it's the old idea of there's no such thing as bad publicity, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with that as a whole thing, but
no, it's not what you would have wanted.
I've never seen the amount of worry that people have tried to put in me about negative feedback. I've never seen any of the results that they were worried about. So it's for me, it's very easy to dismiss it. Going back to, I know what I have and haven't done, and I know what people have said about me, and they're welcome to say whatever they need to. Doesn't matter.
The videos are paying off, I think, even despite the fact that your website probably isn't ranking very high. Yeah. And despite the fact that your Google, Zen page 1 isn't exactly perfect either. Right. You're still doing really good. And I think that that's something that people really need to, I hope, getting out of this, as we wrap up here, we can wrap up or keep talking, whatever, after this. We can do it after the show sometimes. Those are really, could be something different. But, you do need to be aware of it. You need to know how to be aware of it, right? Like what we just did, and see how you're just one guy doing this stuff for other people, or doing stuff for yourself, doing stuff for other people, and how you can affect the world, or how you can affect your community around you and stuff like that. So I think it's a great way to end the show. And stuff. We could ask a lot more questions. I didn't want to put you too much on the spot with too many questions and stuff, because we really just wanted
I wasn't worried about it. So
kind of just wanted to ramble around and bubble along as we went. We didn't really have too much of a specific thing. I think we've talked about a lot of different things. Some are more specific to how to help or how to improve your business through your experience, and good, bad, or indifferent, and how to survive when it is bad, and how bad is it when it's that bad. That's certainly
that there is. Let me tell you one little story just real quick, because I think this will be helpful to some people who maybe get in a situation where somebody gives them, puts them in a position where they're dumping a bunch of negative feedback at them. I had a situation pretty early on. I would guess maybe 2 years into powder coating. I took on a job. Now, this is a repeat customer. This is a customer by then. I think this was the 3rd or 4th set of wheels I had done for this customer. He had loved every other set. Everything else had been perfect. He asked me to do something that was, even now, I don't know that I would take the job. It was a combination of colors. It was basically, I was going to do 2 wheels, candy red on the face of the wheel and fluorescent yellow on the back. And then the other 2 were going to be candy blue on the face of the wheel and fluorescent orange on the back. Right. So a bunch of things that there's a lot of potential for problems. It's a bunch of colors that don't go well together. Fluorescent
orange and blue go together. They're complementary colors.
No. When I say I say they're not friends with each other from a chemical standpoint.
Okay.
Standpoint. So, fluorescence and candies are almost never friends. They touch
Right.
those problems.
Right.
But
but you were going to go down that trail.
Well, and I did the job, but I had, based most of my building as a business was based on the fact that I was willing to do the jobs that other people were scared of. And I was like, I'll figure out how to do it. When I got told that you couldn't do, I don't remember what it was now. I had done like a gradient with, I think, like 7 different candy colors. And on forums that I was on, and I had asked about it, and they're like, you could never do that with powder. And I was like, why? Like, in my head, I'm still new, so I don't know. But then I'm like, well, but the concept is pretty simple, right? Like, why couldn't you do it? And I remember I spent, I think, 8 or 9 hours one day just trying to figure out the right way to do it to make it all work. And so, like, my big thing was always doing the kind of wild stuff that nobody else was willing to do. Even early on, I was ordering colors from Prismatic that people were like, that's powder coat? I didn't even know you could get powder coat in that color, that kind of thing. I had a situation where the guy brought me the wheels. He wanted them that color. And I said, okay, it's going to take me, a week or whatever to figure out exactly how to do this. And, I'm only 2 years in. I'm still learning things. I still learn things now, 12 years in. But I gave it a whirl, and aesthetically, it was fine. It looked how it needed to look. But I cheated a little bit in the way that I was trying to accomplish things. And I, essentially I did things not the right way, but in a way that would make them appear to be good. What that, the negative of that is adhesion and impact resistance were basically non-existent. And what ended up happening is, he liked the wheels. He had them on the car for a couple months and everything was fine. He sold them to a gentleman here local, and that guy took his car through a drive-through car wash.
Oh, God.
The kind that pulls it on rails, the kind where it drops down and the little things push it forward and it's on rails. 10.5-inch wide wheel.
So my God.
It's dragging on the inside of this, right? And it starts chipping away the powder. Now, to be fair, I didn't do the wheels the right way. I did them in a way that would be aesthetically pleasing. And I knew that the impact resistance would be minimized because of the way that I did it. It started chipping the powder off, and he didn't contact me. He posted about it on a Subaru group talking crap about me and the crap work that I put out. And now keep in mind,
he bought a secondary buyer?
Yeah, secondary buyer. He bought the wheels from somebody else. So, that was the other thing. Because I wasn't happy with how I had done the wheels, I actually didn't charge the initial customer.
Right.
I never charged him. I was like, I hope this works out. All your other moves have been great. I don't know. Like, good luck, Jason. Sorry ahead of time, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And you do that too. You just can't take chances like that. It's better just to give it away.
Right. And then, so he posted on a Subaru page, made a big stink about it. He was showing how he was flaking away pieces of powder with his fingers on the back of the barrel. All this, keep in mind, all this initiated by the fact it was drug on a metal rail to start breaking the powder away. It wasn't like it just failed one day. I said, hey man, I reached out to him. I was super nice. And I said, hey, I see you have a problem with these wheels. I saw that you were also looking on getting them redone. How about just bring them to me? I'll just refinish them for you for free. Right. I wasn't happy with the work being out there anyway, but the situation kind of, I had my hands tied by it a little bit. He wanted them for a car show. I got them done for the car show. It is what it is. And I said, but hey, you want them like matte black. I think you picked solar black or something like that. And I was like, just bring them to me. I'll do them for you for free. No big deal. He said, okay, I need them by no later than this date. Okay. Like I have to have them by this date. I said, okay, that's like a week from now. It's not a problem. Whatever. He brought the wheels to me. I cleaned up the curb rash and stuff that he had put in them in the time that he owned them, stripped them all down, powder coated them black, got the tires back on them for him, and delivered them on the day that he needed them by. Okay, he needed them on that day. He said, I have to have them this day. They were ready the day he said he had to have them. Didn't charge him a dime. Did all that for free. Now, in my head, keep in mind, I don't do anything with the expectation of anything of anybody. I've given up on expecting things from people. It just is what it is. I do it, and if something good comes from it, cool. If not, that sucks. Whatever. To this day, this customer still brings up the fact that the powder on wheels that he bought from somebody else failed. Now, I redid the wheels for him for free, delivered them on the day that he said he needed them. I did everything I could for this customer, or not customer, this person, and he continued to just be an ass. And so that was a thing that taught me really early on that, like, looking at it now, I would never do that. There's no way I would ever cater to that situation. Now, I probably wouldn't put myself in the initial situation anyway.
Right.
But should it come up some other way, I never in my life would do that, because I know that in my heart, I would not want to, and I'm not going to convince myself to do it, because I'm going to have to be the person that's sitting there mulling over the fact that I'm redoing these wheels for free, and I shouldn't have ever had to do that. I didn't have to warranty anything. I told the guy I wasn't warrantying his wheels because I didn't charge him, and then I still did this other guy's wheels for free, after he made the purchase of their initial set. And I think that was a thing that taught me really early on, like, stick to what you want to be doing. Stick to your true authentic self. Handle things how you think they should be handled. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, somebody doesn't agree with you. It's not, I can't expect everybody.
It's kind of hard though, because at some point, it was those risky jobs that you took that got you to the level that you're at. Right. But then at some point it kind of falls back in on itself when you are, at some point there's a turning point. Doesn't that it falls back on itself, but you turn a point where you're like, I don't ever want to be doing that again, or I know who I am. And I don't know where that part is, or, obviously every guy's journey is different, right? But at some point you have to be that, you have to know when that turning point is, right? Yeah,
you have to be really careful to never shoot yourself in the foot, basically. It's like, you can do whatever you need to, but ultimately shooting yourself in the foot is never going to benefit you, and so you can take the risks that you need to take especially as far as growing your business, because that's what I was doing at the time. I was doing these wild projects because they got a ton of attention and it would help me grow the business, but it was like, it came back to sort of bite me in the ass. And my thinking at the time was like, well, I'm a growing business. I should try to fix this problem in this way. And ultimately I did everything I could have done for that customer. I met his deadline. I did his wheels for free. I didn't charge the initial guy. I never in my life had to warranty any of their work for this kid. And I still did it. And he still managed to complain. And it's like that allowed me at some point, like, release that mindset of me where I'm just like, I'm not going to sit and work to do the absolute right thing by everybody, by their standards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I do it by mine. Looking back, I should have been like, yeah, I'll redo them. I'll charge you half price and I'll still deliver them on the date you want. That's not any better. He's going to now have to pay money to get me to do these. And my guess is, had he done that, he would still complain.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I could have done basically is bought his negative feedback away. And I don't care. We, well established now. We've been talking for a couple hours.
Right.
I don't care about negative feedback.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not going to buy that aspect, but it was, you get in those situations where you learn from, I don't want to say mistakes, because I think ultimately I was doing the right thing at the time, but you look back at it now, you're like, oh, that was a mistake to even try to help that guy. And I think if we can get more people into the mindset of, doing the right thing, but on your terms, not somebody else's, I think it makes a big difference in how people perceive you. Because ultimately the flip side of that is he could have posted a lot of really positive things about me and that would have been great. But then people might have seen me as a pushover just the same. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that being a pushover is necessarily bad, but in the business world, you don't want to be known for being a pushover. That's the last thing you want to be known for. And I just think that those little lessons over time, that's something that's, to this day, if there's somebody recommends me on Facebook in a, Subaru group, which he's mostly in Subaru groups, he'll always bring this story up about, oh, he did these wheels for this guy that I bought and they were crap and blah, blah. And it's like, bro, like, you drove on the wheels that I made black for like 7 years and then sold them. And the guy still is driving on them to this day and they're perfectly fine. Like, how is this complaint even real in your head at this point? But some people like to dwell on stuff like that. that goes back to the, some people's lives are so great that they have to focus on problems that don't really exist because they need something to like put their energy towards. So it's like, I hope one day my life is that simple. I hope one day I can basically make up problems in my head to concern myself with.
Well, I think sometimes it's like, not that people are mental or that customer's mental or has a mental disease, but I mean,
Right.
we've worked for customers that have serious OCD issues. And I'm starting to recognize it now because we've had a few of these type of customers.
And you're getting to the point where you can turn them away before they're a customer.
Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, right. We haven't quite gotten that far, but, but and to the point where they call us out and say, if we post something on Instagram with a color that is similar to their, like basically they made Ross promise never to use that color ever again, that prismatic, whatever, XYZ color or whatever. And then we'll buy something like Columbia Coatings that has something similar or whatever and make it, it's a great thing. And he'll call us up and say, did you use my color? Is that my color? And I'm like, no, there are a million other colors. Not all of them are going to be, it's kind of funny.
I can't believe that you have a customer that would have the audacity to say nobody else can ever use this color.
Oh, well, but we're on a small island, see, so they all drive around and they see each other's stuff and they all know each other and they all,
somebody told
there have been more than one customer that we've had, I think they're up to like 3 or 4 or 5 of them now that we're not supposed to use that color ever again. And they make Ross promise. And I'm like, every time I tell them, I'm like, what do you mean you made a promise? I'm always yelling at him.
If you tried that with me, that would definitely land you in the F off category. I'd be like, what do you I was like, yeah, bro, I only ordered enough powder to do just your job and I'm never going to spray it again. Okay. I was like, but
it's crazy when you live on an island. When
you're on a small island, that's, we're in different worlds, obviously.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, it is kind of cool though. And I don't know if you do this when it's something I kind of picked up. Even Ross does it. I didn't know he was doing it, but like when you're driving across town and you see somebody rolling by you, we're like, oh shit, that's our work. It's pretty cool.
I see that a lot. And I get tagged in photos, like people, post on Instagram or Snapchat a car that they know that I did the work on. And it's most of the kind of wild colored wheels around here.
Yeah, those are the easier ones. Yeah.
And so I get a lot of that, and it's like, and it's cool. It's cool to see your own stuff out there. It's even cooler is one of the things that I always kind of fall back on when people talk about me being a one-man shop versus some of the, Armor Coatings, it's kind of, I guess my competition out here. It's all relative, but they're the only one that gets mentioned when somebody's like, hey, who should I go to powder coating? It's myself and Armor Coatings. Like those are the two. And it's super funny when people try to they'll kind of try to throw shade at me being like a one-man show or whatever. And people are really quick to point out, it's like, yeah, but look at the winners of every single car show. It's always my customers. And I want to say it was 2018. I was associated with 118 trophies in Utah alone for car shows, which it sounds stupid that I know that number, but I was keeping the tally for a very specific reason because somebody said that there's no way he has that much affiliation with people who win at car shows. And I was like, bro, almost every single class of this car show, first place is my customer. Usually second and third are my customers as well. And it's like that type of stuff, I guess sort of going back to like being able to brand yourself, tying yourself to cars that get a ton of attention and win car shows is much better than doing a bunch of work for a bunch of people who are not going to get any attention. And it's not to say that they are not valued customers, but I can go out at a car show and walk through a car show and be like, oh, these are all, 18 or, 30 out of 50 cars here are my customer. And that matters. I mean, that matters, word of mouth, the chat, the group chat that I'm in with a bunch of powder coaters. I've been showing them screen recorded videos of somebody be like, hey, who should I powder coat my wheels? Somebody kind of, new to powder coating maybe. Armor Coatings gets their mention, 1 or 2 people, but then it will be like 30 of me. And that type of marketing, like that is absolutely the best type of marketing that you will ever get, that word of mouth thing. But with that being said, you can't always focus on like all the negative, or any of the negative stuff that gets thrown your way. Because ultimately, if you're not successful, there's no negative that's going to come your way. Like if you're a business that's not growing and isn't big and well known, people aren't going to care to talk about you. They only talk about businesses that are showing any level of success. And so you can throw all the shade at me that people can throw all the shade at me that they need to. But it's like at the end of the day, if I wasn't relevant, you wouldn't care one bit what I was doing.
Right. Like, you're obviously you're breaking the mold, so to speak, on some level, and who cares if you are counting? I don't care. It's a milestone moment that you should be counting that. It's freaking 2020. The year sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, if it wasn't for us paying attention to all the awesome, good stuff we've been doing, like the podcast, the patent, the patina, all the other good stuff it's been a rough year for us otherwise, and you have to, just to try to get through this year. And I think people keep thinking, okay, how many more days left 2020, but the thing is it might last a little longer than that because of COVID and
seems like it,
whatever, we might get into 2021 a little bit before and get comfortable with it before it really gets all over and stuff, but to hang in there and start thinking about those positive things, because you cannot let the internet or people on the internet rip you apart and rip you to shreds. I think, I think we should put a question out there to the viewers, your viewers, my viewers, whoever is, I want to end this with something for them to think about. Have they had issues with reputation? Have they had hard times with acknowledging their success or dealing with difficult customers? What do you think? You throw it out there. What do you think we should ask for comments and engagement?
I guess the one that I'm always curious about, because I know the way that I deal with customers is not at grand scale, is not ideal in most people's eyes, right? And so I want to know people's, I guess, horror stories to some degree. I want to know that customer that they had and how they dealt with it, because I'm always curious. I have powder coat friends. I have local powder coat friends that I'd be like, well, how would you have dealt with this? And they're like, and they'll tell me, and it's, very different than how I deal with anything. And so I'm always curious to hear like people's input, especially on like, when I say horror story, I just mean like that nightmare customer, and how people deal with it. And not, I guess I want to know kind of the base of why they dealt with it that way. Like I know why I handle situations the way I do, going like back to the whole self-awareness thing. Like I get why I do things the way I do, but sometimes I'll see people handle a negative situation and I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why are you doing that? And I'm not saying it in a negative way. Like I'm legitimately wondering like what goes on in your head that makes you think that's the best approach there? Because I'm looking at it, and if I'm in that position, like I'm doing almost the exact opposite of what you're doing. It's like, so I'm always curious, from like I guess like a psychological standpoint, like what is driving you to make that response in that situation?
Yeah. And I think that's a great question to ask. For me, it's all about preventative, measures, like having a Loctite policy, and we put it on our estimate. I'll show you. I don't know how you use, how you write up jobs and stuff like that, but we have a form here. Actually, this is our old form with our old logo, but I'm getting a new one, which I'll maybe. And at the bottom, we've got all this writing. Yeah. And so, we tear it off and give them the yellow sheet. They go home with that and they can read it to their heart's content. And if they don't read it, too bad.
Yeah. I will tell you right now that the way that I input data from a customer varies drastically depending on the type of customer. I don't know. That's probably like a skipping way of saying that. But if it's a customer I've dealt with numerous times, I don't make them fill out anything. I already have their information. I know what color they want. Everything's going to be pretty straightforward. It's never really been a problem for me, honestly. But if I get a customer in here that's, I call them tire kickers kind of as a joke, but it's the ones that are asking a ton of questions. They're humming and hawing about two nearly identical colors for an hour. Like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna cover all our bases with you, because
right. Yeah.
you're the one that has the potential to be that negative, interaction later down the road because you're, oh, well, I picked this teal and it looks more like this teal. It's like, bro, you're looking at them on swatches, like it's
right.
You're looking at Prismatic. Prismatic obviously does that thing where they spray over brushed aluminum, which
I hate that.
Unless you're doing work over brushed aluminum, that color doesn't matter at all, and it's.
Unless you're doing a SEMA truck that'll be carried on a trailer around the freaking country and never driven, come on. I know. Someday I'm going to write a blog post about that. But I don't want, what? I think that actually could be a whole nother show, Shawn.
Probably,
So we're going to say to our viewers, what has been, give us your horror stories. It is the month of October and Halloween is coming up. Right. Give us your horror stories. How did you handle it? And what did you learn from it? That actually is probably a good way to end the show. Yeah. And put it in the comments and like and share. Maybe we, when we post this video, we can put it in the groups and see what the responses are. People can put them there. They can put them on the Podbean platform, and they can put them on the YouTube. And especially if Shawn's on the YouTube, that might actually, do you follow my channel? Can you follow my channel?
I think I already do.
Okay.
I think I looked at some of your videos earlier and I was like, oh, I don't even follow this yet. Hold on. I'm sure I do.
Me too. I just joined your channel too. So okay. Give a shout out, just since we're on the subject. What is your YouTube channel for those that don't know? How do they get a hold of you?
It's just, if you just type in Unknown Coatings on YouTube, it comes right up, space or no space. I don't know how that part works actually on YouTube, but they both work.
And Instagram too. You're on the gram.
Yeah, Instagram. I'm just at Unknown. I'm at Unknown Coatings everywhere, including Twitter that I don't even use. So I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time.
Okay.
I'll never see it.
Twitter just erased like a month's worth of crap when they closed down the other day.
I literally, if a new social media platform comes up, I go in and I register and I make the name just so nobody else has it. I mean, so there's a bunch that I don't use. I use Snapchat a little bit at Unknown Coatings. Mostly, honestly, I would say 98% of my interaction on there is with powder coaters. Just people who found YouTube. But beyond that, I don't know. I don't.
But wait, what about your group page there? Now, what that called?
There's a UKC Army page, which is just UKC Space Army on Facebook. That group initially, I kind of had the idea of just like, all these people that actively support my channel on YouTube. I was like, maybe I can get a bunch of them together and they can help each other. I've kind of mentioned some of the Q&As, how awesome it is now. Like, you can go in there and ask a question, and there has been no drama on this page, which we're only, I think we're like 300 subs or 300 members or whatever. There hasn't been any drama yet. I'll mitigate any drama that there is just because, but it's been really cool because people have been able to go in and ask questions. And, I go in a couple times a day and I try to answer as many questions as I can.
Yeah.
But now it's to the point where there's enough people in there that know what they're talking about, especially on specific topics, that they're providing answers, before I even get in there. And I'll go like, I'll answer this guy's question, and I'll scroll down and 4 people have already given him a good response. So it's a great place for, startup powder coaters, anybody wanting to learn about powder coating. I mean, there's all sorts of, I don't want to say noob because that has such like a negative connotation, but like there's a bunch of very new people asking questions that a lot of powder coaters that I've seen would roll their eyes at, before they ever answered it. And that's not happening here. That, people are providing actual answers and giving real input. And, people that are only 6 months into it be like, well, I started this way, and I think those people don't get enough credit for how much they're helping a brand new person. Cause 6 months is only 6 months, but it's like that 6 months matters, like that 6 months is like where you've had to fight through all the new stuff you had to learn. And maybe you can tell them what they don't.
Sometimes we forget too, right? Remember, like you forget all those things that you had to go through.
And even, I said before, I'm 12 years into this. I still learn stuff constantly. So,
Right.
I've made a point of saying on multiple videos and Q&As and stuff that I'm not an expert. I'm here providing as much information as I can, because I feel like the people that were doing it prior to me making how-to videos and things like that were providing a lot of misinformation, and I want to be able to be a guy who knows what he's talking about, who has done this for, 12 years into it, be able to put my information and input, and the advantage that I have is you get to see all that in real time a lot of the time. I'm making a how-to video showing you the whole process, start to finish. I'm not sitting there just talking about some things that I'm, doing. And I think that group is just, it turned into a little bit of something that I didn't expect it to, but it's in a much more positive way. It's become something that's real positive.
And it's about engagement too, because who cares how many, like I said, we said earlier about how many people will end up being on the channel. It doesn't matter how many people are on the channel. It's how many people are engaging on the channel.
Yeah.
That's how and we have yet to release this. I just did a recording with a social media expert, which I hope to publish this week. And she's like, you don't want a group with 10,000 members. It'll be a nightmare for you. Because that's all you'll be doing is putting fires out or settling this person or cutting that person out or whatever.
I run a group of 20,000 right now that is specific to high-end wheels. And I will tell you right now, if it weren't for the fact that I've added moderators to this, I would go insane, because it's the amount of nonsense that I have to deal with in that group alone. And this is literally just people selling expensive wheels, right? This should be a pretty cut and dry, easy to deal with group. I can't even imagine a group of people who are just there to give their opinion at a rate of 10,000 people or 20,000 people. It's like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. More of the same on the internet. What you can do on the internet today and how it's changing our lives.
Yeah. That's why I said I don't need to find a Facebook group of men fighting. I can do that anywhere. That's not it's like a bunch of grown men arguing about dumb topics. I can do that just on my Facebook page. I can find that. or my wall or whatever it's called.
Yeah. All right, peeps. Well, remember to share your horror stories and how did you handle it and what did you learn from it? Here you go, Shawn. Thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.